music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyper-local audience in Montgomery County? Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out ourlonestar.com/sponsor for more information. Or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-3776 with your questions. Get seen on TV, YouTube, and heard on our podcast, FM, and internet radio. Support your local radio station with Lone Star Community Radio.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. You're listening and watching The Cindy Cochran Show live on YouTube and Facebook. And, well, it's the Lone Star Community Radio Facebook. And if you, I said in the Cindy Cochran Facebook on YouTube. Yeah. Oh, you have to look up the Cindy Cochran Show, Facebook. That's what he wanted me to say. Anyway, and also on the radio, it is 106.1 and 104.5 that you can just listen to our voices. Just imagine how good we look. Okay, so I want to tell you what happened last night. I got an invitation to go to the sneak peek of the HEB, that their grand opening. I bet you were really surprised by that because I had the GM on and that got me in good with him. But I got to go to that and drag Sam along, and he knew the Astros were getting ready to play, and he's going like, okay, can we go home? Can we go home? Can we go home yet? But it was so beautiful. Their store is gorgeous, and so anybody that lives out there, Willis, Montgomery area, this is the brand new HEB store, and it has a different look than the others, so you might want to check it out. And they were giving away samples after samples, and they were giving stuff that you could pick up and put in your bag and stuff. And there were just so this morning I went back, and it's like I slept in the parking lot, but I went back, and the GM saw me. He said, "You're back again?" I'm telling you, I'm the best grocery store's friend because I'll be here as much as I can. But I said, "Your daughter came up to me and complained about the interview you had on my show." And he said, "She did? Oh, I'm so sorry." And I said, "No, it was because you didn't say her name." And so she said, "I listened to all 57 minutes of that show, and I never heard my name mentioned or anything. So I just want to tell you about that." And I said, "Okay." So I told James that I'm going to do a shout out to her and her brother, and that's so that she'll feel like she was part of it. Her name is Evie Anderson, and her brother's name is Bryson. Oh boy, I got that right. I'm glad I only had 2 kids. But it was Bryson, Evie. I just want to say hi to you. And y'all were so cute. Oh my goodness. Evie is just going to be a star. She has got personality plus. She's amazing. And her brother's very quiet, very suave, and very cool. And has the best head of hair I've ever seen in my whole life. He's so cute. So anyway, and your beautiful wife, I got to meet her. And it was a lot of fun. So I just want to say, when I drove up this morning at 7 o'clock, I thought it'd be like one of the first ones there at the HEB. They opened at 6. And I drove up, and it looked like, I went, did he rent a bunch of fake cars to put in the parking lot to make it look like it's full? Because that parking lot was overflowing, and people were just streaming in. So there's not a lot to do in Willis, So anyway, to have a new store like this and the HEB open, this is a big deal. And they had a marching band and all the stuff going on. So it was pretty spectacular and exciting, but not as spectacular as exciting as today's going to be, because my guest, Gail Matthews, is with me, and I am so happy and honored that she's here because, I followed her career and and tried to emulate her and be as good a speaker as she was. And so she was our hero. And Phyllis Ledbetter is listening right now and can't wait for me to shut up so I can introduce Gail Matthews. Thank you so much for being here. And put that right up against so that we can hear you.
My pleasure, Cindy.
Well, I know you know how to project, but it's just that I usually have to go like hello right at the microphone. But I am so happy because it's been years I've seen you in a while, and so I'm so happy to see you now and know that you're over at Bammel, and you are the women's minister, right?
Yes, I'm the women's minister and one of the teaching ministers.
And
at Bammel.
now, when you have a teaching minister, are you teaching others to minister, or are you teaching classes, or what
I
are you
teach
doing?
classes.
Okay, and you still have the ladies' Bible class, right?
We have a women's Bible study that
I'm
meets
sorry.
in the daytime.
Now, what's the difference between ladies and women? I was told there's a difference between don't call us girls, we're women. I went, okay.
Well, and then don't call us women, we're ladies. Well, no, we're females. I don't know. It gets too complicated for me.
Can you?
I don't know what is
It's
the
above your pay
appropriate
scale.
way. Yes.
I know.
But we have
sign.
an in-person class, and we also have a Zoom class in the evening for gals who work and can't do
Oh,
day
that's
stuff.
perfect. Oh, that's good. I love that. Well, I know that women's classes and going and speaking to a lot of women's groups, it's been amazing. Do you ever have men sneak into the group to make sure they hear you?
Not so much. Well, no, yeah, we do. But what's been fun is we have had most often guys doing our technology stuff. And so they are with us.
Now, see, why I say that is in the Church of Christ, we were always, the women talk and speak together and all that. That's fine. But the men don't sit in the classes and stuff because they should be the ones leading the classes. And that's how we kind of grew up. I know we've come a long way, baby, but when I spoke at the soul winning workshop that they had way back,
Tulsa.
yeah, no, this was the one that they had in Houston.
Okay.
They were going to try and start what Tulsa was doing, but they had the soul winning workshop, and they had me speak, and so. The big rooms and stuff like that. And so I get up there, and when I stand up, there's all these guys in the doorways standing in there. And so I turned around to whoever was, doing. I said, "Is it okay for me to keep talking? Because those guys are standing right over there." They said, "Yes, go ahead. It's okay." And so it was something. And what was funny was the soul winning workshop, and I went down in the basement or wherever we were eating, and I looked around and I went, now, if someone wants to be baptized, what do you guys do? What do y'all, we don't have anything. We're not here. We're just here to teach people. And I went, So I went and bought a horse trough and brought a horse trough in because I thought this just doesn't make sense if you guys think that somebody's going to be converted and you don't have any place to, you got to baptize them right away. So I brought that down into the kind of the basement area there, and so I told them what we had, and they said, okay, and you fill it up with water, that's okay with us. And so then this girl that's she's working in the cafeteria, and she came and waited on me. She was so sweet. She said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm speaking." And she said, "What on what?" So I started telling her, and she said, "I'm really interested in the Bible." And so we sat down, we talked, and so she says, "I want to be baptized." And I said, "You do? You want to be baptized?" Oh, yes. I got just the horse trough for you. But I said, that's great. And she says, "But I want you to baptize me." And I went, "You want me to what?" And I said, "I want you to baptize me." So you wouldn't believe the meetings of all the minds and all the elders and all the people that got together to see if this was going to be okay. And I called
Sandy,
my.
I can imagine.
Yes, yeah. Oh, yeah. You, of course, anybody can imagine.
I know what they were.
But I called my brother-in-law who has a doctorate in theology, and so I said, let me tell you this. He said, "It's fine. It's not the person that does it. That's not what's doing anything, because you are nothing that is, special, holy or anything. It's the fact that the baptism is everything." But so I went back and told them what he said, and then they said, "Well, okay, but we probably won't be there, but okay, because we just don't know what this is going to be like." I think it was fun. It was like I knew there was a reason for that to be there, and this girl made it, said, "Yes, this is why you should have been here." And it was so validating. I love that part of it. But it's so rewarding to do the speaking. And I know that had to be a huge part of, like once you start speaking and people responded to you the way they did, you had to be like, wow, this is, women need this.
It is, and they definitely do. And that's why in my career and my history, it has been wanting so desperately to create space for women to have a voice.
Yes.
Because they have things to say.
Boy.
And they have grown and they're maturing in the Lord, and we need to hear those stories. And
That's
so
right.
we created space for that to happen.
That's exactly right. And I think that it was interesting because women are very, I hate to use the word shy, but they were reluctant to demonstrate a lot of the feelings that they had because the way we were raised. And I understand that. And I don't blame anybody for feeling the way they did and saying this would be the best way to do it and their interpretation and all that of it. But I think that in doing that, what it made you feel like is I can't wait till I'm able to talk to people freely, and it wasn't, no one said don't say anything. They want you to go out and tell everybody about Jesus and everything, but it was just on a stage level,
And the stage level is the thing, we create our environments, and we created an environment that has been non-inclusive.
Right.
And
right.
so it's because of that, but that's our creation. And
that's right.
That's our creation.
That's right.
And so what we've been doing is working to open doors for more inclusion in the body of Christ.
That is so true, because women are the ones that will take the children and bring the children to church all the time. The men, I hate it because there's enormous amount of men that come and that are great and all that. But I'm saying women and grandmothers bring their kids to church, and they're try to be so faithful about that, and sit there with all kind of ideas of things. What, you could do this and you could say that, and they have a way to speak to problems that the men will not be able to do. They just don't have that in them to be able to the nurturing part of it in them.
Well, there's interesting research out about, it's even called the feminization of Christianity.
Oh,
which
interesting.
is interesting.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, especially when you look historically at the fact that the feminization of Christianity, and yet women have no voice.
Right.
So it's just been an interesting evolution. Hopefully we're growing. I think we are.
Yes.
I think we're beginning to get a sense of people together worshiping God. Just people.
And politically and in the school system and the educational system, what has happened, you look at those meetings that they have, and who's doing this the most is the moms, because you have just, awakened the mama bear. It's not, there's a lot of woke people, but those woke people are mama bears, and you don't want to mess with them and tell them what they can do and can't do with their children. And so that's what I think has been so interesting, because before, the women weren't that involved in the voting or the activity of the voting or the just any of that, and it was like the men took care of that, and they did all this, and we have come a long way.
We have too, Cindy.
And so I remember and my mom would get so upset with me because she was extremely, like, Cindy, you don't do this and you don't do that, and said, hey, Mom, let me tell you what, the fashion right now is a short skirt. It was during the 60s.
The 60s, I've been there.
And that's when I started interpreting during that time. And so I remember getting up and interpreting the first sermon, and then I had a meeting with the elders, and they said, you can't wear that anymore. Okay, so just don't even think about wearing that anymore. You need to wear something else. And I said, like what? And they said, well, something longer. And I went, okay. So I got a pantsuit. And you weren't supposed to wear pants at all. And I got a pantsuit the next time. They went, Cindy, we need to have another meeting. And so I said, well, look, all right, you got to make up your mind, because either I got to learn sewing or we have to start creating my own outfits, because right now everything you buy is going to be shorter, and the pants take care of that. I don't get what's the problem with that. And they said, okay, well, let us meet at that. And came back and said, okay, you can wear the pantsuit. I guess they must have asked their wives, and their wife said, yes, that's what we want to wear too. Let us wear the pantsuit. So
it's a funny thing, the way we get stuck in patterns of what is good and bad, what is right and wrong.
Right.
And it's not that those things don't exist.
Right.
But we do put strange categories in there.
Yes, I know. And it's so funny when you, growing up, I was so dogmatic in my religion. And I would take all the kids in the neighborhood and put them on the steps and preach to them, and even rock, and preach until, and just nail them to the cross that they're all going to hell, because they got to straighten up, and they're like 8, 7, 6 years old. And so I come a long way, but my mom, it was so strong in the teaching and what she taught us to do and all that. And then if we questioned anything, it was, Katie, bar the door, because you don't question anything. And I said, but God made somebody that we're supposed to be in his image, and what he created, we can create in our own self, as long as it's in line with what he's after.
That's right. I was blessed to grow up in a home that was not rigid. It was conservative. And my father was a Church of Christ preacher, and so I was a preacher's kid,
Oh.
But what impacted me, and I think what the Lord has used in me, is the fact that growing up in this strong, faith-based, church-going environment, I ended up carrying this deep-seated sense. It was never told me, no one ever said this to me, but inside somehow, I think I interpreted all of this church stuff as God himself prefers men. Now, women have a place, we've got work to do, the helpmeet kind of thing.
Right.
But the premier thing is for men. Well, that gets you in trouble if you're a woman. And you think that.
And you think that, yes.
And so you have to come to some point where God corrects that thinking for you. And for me, he corrected that thinking through teaching and through working with women, therefore learning to appreciate and love what they bring to the table.
The strength that they go through so much.
Yes. And so I'm grateful that we are coming a little more receptive to hearing women's voices in a church environment.
Yes.
I don't want it to all just be in other environments.
Right. No,
and so
that's
we
right.
do what we can, and we move the herd a little further down the road.
And it's taken a while.
Yes.
I think
my lifetime.
Yeah. I think I jumped the gun on a lot of them, and they're worried about me. But because I had to go into elder meetings, and they want to talk to me about when I was on the Johnny Carson show. They wanted to explain and talk about how Hollywood's evil. It's just evil. All that's evil. So what you're walking into is going to be evil, and we would rather you not go on the show. And I went, what? Wait. I think I can handle it. I think, I can handle it. And went, well, it's just, what those people are like. So their idea of the world with a woman in the world, you just have no chance. And it was true. I mean, the 70s and 60s, 70s, women when I worked at the TV station, it was all men dominated, and you just had to laugh off or try and laugh your way through a situation or something, because men were just that was hard, that domineering power that they felt like they had over women. And we've been through that phase, and then when all the stuff about the Me Too and all that started scaring guys, and they started changing. And I think it was, all the commercials were having the guys looking stupid, and there was it was horrible, because you saw how society and the people that could take your mind and make you think another way. I'll use TV, I'll use movies, I'll use all that to make you think that way. So, and I think they followed. I think women bought into that, or felt like, well, if everybody thinks that way, then it's got to be.
That's why there's got to be some source. There's got to be some basis that's not based on TV ads for your thinking.
Right.
And there's got to be some place where you can logically think through something that's not off of Facebook and not off of social media.
Right.
And so that's where I go back to one reason I believe Bible study matters is because it's a different voice.
Right.
And do we change our interpretations? Yes, because hopefully we grow. And so, of course, it's a live thing. So,
well, I would want to sit down. If I was going to do anything to my car, I would want to sit down with the mechanic of that car first and have that mechanic explain to me why it's best that you not keep from changing the oil. You need to change that oil, and here's why. And explain to that person has a lot of credibility with me,
right.
Which the person who created us should have a lot of cred as well, because you want to go like, okay, I guess he knows what he's talking about. And when he says there's no new sin, that makes me feel better, so it doesn't feel like I'm the only one that's ever done that before.
No. Not in Proverbs, or Ecclesiastes, it says there's nothing new under the sun.
Right, nothing.
There's nothing new.
No, we've seen it, been there, and they have a T-shirt for it. Yeah,
it's been done.
That was kind of comforting in a sense, because people that think they're the only ones that do this or say that or think that, and that's not true. They've seen it all.
No, it's not true. That's one reason I'm convinced that people, and since I work with women, I'll say women, but I don't think it's just women. I think men as well. You need a circle. You need a circle. It's a kind of a covenant kind of thing.
Yes.
You need people sisters, brothers, that you can talk to and you trust.
Right,
and trust their response. And I think every one of us needs that in our lives.
Yo, definitely. Gail, it's so funny you said sisters, and I can remember growing up in the church that I couldn't wait till I was old enough and somebody called me Sister Robinson. I was like, that's going to be so cool. And by the time I got that age, everybody quit calling each other.
Doing
they don't do that anymore.
Our black sisters still do.
They do. Okay.
Yes, they do.
Well, good for
them. And it feels good.
Yes. Oh, yes.
It feels good.
And whenever I write things, and I'll call them sister. Thank you, sister. And that to Phyllis and to different people that we write to each other. That's important. It was so important to me. It's so funny that became like a big deal. And I thought, are we still Christians if we don't say sister? And they, because I found nobody else did that. Like none of my friends said sister or anything like that at church. And it was just like, okay. So when it died away, I was like, well, there that went. And so many things, it's like the going to the beach or going to mixed bathing. Mixed bathing was a big deal. And a lot of the things that we were taught in church were exactly right. They were right. The principle was right. It was difficult to follow, and no dancing. And I never danced. I couldn't dance. I could dance because I learned all the dances, but I didn't dance. But I sit on the couch with my boyfriend and we kiss. What they should have told me is you don't want to dance because that leads to, these other things. Instead, if they had just put that in the order it was supposed to be, and I just thought it was, dance, and that was the sin, was the dancing. But I think that it was interesting that that, women were excluded a lot of times from any in-depth conversation about anything, and now they're not. Now we have them better, in much better shape, I think, even though just the knowledge of it. But what's bad is that TikTok and a lot of those beat us to it, talking about it in a more biblical way, the things that should happen. But on TikTok, they have a lot of good sermons. Bob Smiley, Bob Smiley, and he's a Christian comedian, and he talks about, I have seen more 1-minute sermons on TikTok, and and everybody says don't watch TikTok, it's horrible. He says, but it's good, it really is good, and I always do my sermonettes as well, and people will say, I don't agree with anything with your biblical politics, but I do love when you talk about Jesus as a child, or what it must have been like, and things like that, and make it more human.
Yes.
Isn't that something? Is to bring it down to where everybody can relate to it, because that's what I think Christ did.
That's why he came.
Yeah, right.
To make God relatable.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, because
to be in flesh.
Right.
Human in flesh.
And I think like God was said, what, I hate killing all these animals, and nobody's understanding what that's all about. Maybe this will help them understand it. So I think forgiveness is so important for people to understand that you have to do that. And if you don't condemn in the first place, you don't have to forgive them in the second. So it's really interesting. And I told you I'd love for us to talk about worry, because worry is such a profound thing, and everybody's doing it nowadays because the scope of what's going on in the world and all, and so you're so worried that it's going to come in your front door. So that's what. And God, it seems to me, spent a lot of time trying to quell that and to say, I don't want you to worry. You shouldn't be anxious about anything. And when that anything, should be in big caps, like the way we text things in big caps. Don't be anxious about anything. And as parents, as a mother, grandmother, the worries just, compound, because when the kids go out or do anything.
And the world's a rough place.
Yes, it is.
You can't sugarcoat that at all. I think, part of the scriptural teaching about don't worry, don't be anxious about anything, is anchored in that you can't change it anyway, kind of thing.
And he said you can't add 1 hour to tomorrow.
No, you're not going to change it. And so I think it has something to do with, are you willing to walk in trust? Bad stuff happens.
Right.
And it's hard and brutal sometimes. I still, from my perspective, I still trust that we have a sovereign God. And as we walk through the hard places, he walks with us.
Right.
I think that's part of the God in flesh picture as well.
True.
He walked with them. They walked with him through all the hard stuff.
And the hard stuff came. It comes, on the good and the bad.
Every generation.
Yes.
Every age. Every country.
Yes.
The good and the bad. But it's hard not to be anxious with our political environment right now in our country.
Right.
In our county. It's hard not to be anxious and worried. And so the things you mentioned, the forgiveness, the kindness, I don't know where the concept of kindness has gone when it's to people that don't agree with you or that you don't, you're not like.
Right.
It's almost like we're losing a sense of kindness.
It's interesting. I just love it when a guy walks into the 7-Eleven store, and out of the corner of his eyes he sees you coming, so he backs up and opens the door and lets you in. I think it's so uplifting to have somebody do something like that. That's just a small act of, kindness. And I always tell them, I said, your mama taught you right. And they said, yes, ma'am, she did.
Yes, ma'am, she did.
and I think that it's just for us to bond over stuff like that. Now, if I ask him, so what are you thinking about the world situation on this? And he has an opposite of the way I think it would form a different way that we look at each other, but it shouldn't. It should be what I see in you is the God's creation, and that's what I dwell on, and not anything else. And that way.
Have to.
And it keeps me from having the burden of feeling like I've got to judge everybody. I'm not the judge and jury of somebody's actions and all that. That's up to God. You can pray for that person. You can be there for that person if they need you and all of that. But it is not your responsibility to have to judge that person, because that puts a lot of stress and worry on you to do that. And that's what God said, I'll take care of that. Hey,
I will take care
I'm
of
right
that.
here.
You do your job.
Yes.
Which is walk justly, love mercy,
Yes,
and walk humbly with God.
that's right.
That's our job.
Yes.
And that the other is in His hands.
I know, and I will get bitten by scripture at times, going like, "Wait a minute." He wasn't talking about me, I'm sure, when he said about make sure what you say is uplifting to somebody, and don't be tearing them down, or don't be saying mean things to them. I'm sorry, Richard, but
And no gossip.
and no gossiping, and that's just like. Colleen was a girlfriend of mine, and we worked together at Southwestern Bell. We'd drive home. It took forever to get home, and the traffic was horrible. And I had a little Volkswagen with no radio. And so we gossiped from the time we walked out of that door and got into the car and all the way down. And I said, look, we've got to stop. This is just totally wrong. And I can't stand the thought of standing before God at Judgment Day and him talking about, all those stories you talked about everybody else. Well, it is that we have to not gossip. Okay. We're just going to have to make that plan. No gossiping. Okay. And she said, okay. All right. So we got in the car. And it was the most boring, and it was so quiet. We had nothing to talk about. And I said, "This is really sad. We can't even talk about anything." But what taught me is that when I first started working there, and you sat down for coffee at coffee, and everybody sat there and would tear people. Everybody that got up and left and walked out the door, they had them torn up about who they are, what they had on, and what's going on in their life and all that. And so I was sitting there, and they said, "Cindy, anytime your coffee thing's over, aren't you supposed to be back at work?" And I went, "I'm not leaving here unless all y'all go with me, because
You got to go first.
That's right, because I know what y'all do to people that walk out here." But that was the most fun thing to do, was to gossip. And when he said don't gossip, he was right. And so we try and find all the good stuff.
Yeah.
And we didn't search deep enough.
We didn't search deep enough, I know. But I think that whole struggle with gossip, the struggle with non-forgiveness, all of those things, I think, are born out of this spirit of better than. We have to somehow convince ourselves that we're better than somebody. And as long as we're thinking that way, you've got to put people down. If you have to be better than. We can't get comfortable with this. We're on level ground.
Right.
All of us, we're on level ground.
That's right.
Under God.
That's right.
And
he went to a whole lot of trouble to make everybody different, that we are all individuals. There's no two of us that have ever been or will ever be again. That's it. We're it for right here and right now. So it's a responsibility to go like, good grief, I got to do something with this, right? I
got to deal with this, and Lord help me.
Yeah, you go back all the way to Adam and Eve, and I love using this. I love using that whole story because how Adam so quickly threw her under the bus when God showed up. And I think that Satan understood Satan understood to attack her at the very thing that we're talking about, is that she's just a helpmeet and you don't know anything. But if you eat this apple, you're going to know everything, even more than God. You're going to know more than everybody. And she went, well, why wouldn't, thought, well, I'd like to do that. I'd like him to respect what I know and what I have, and went for the knowledge part of it. And so she bit into it, and then had him come over so she could share in that, and they could be equal. And then he throws her on the bus. I thought that hadn't changed in a while. But I think that was a good way to begin how women see each other. I mean, God gave her a great honor. You're going to be able to help this world get started and get going, and instead you see it as a secondary. That's in your head. It wasn't in my head. It was,
I know.
We went to a lot of trouble.
That the word that's used, translated from Hebrew into helpmeet in Scripture, God uses it for himself in other passages through the Old Testament.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's great.
It's come alongside.
Yes.
And so it's our insecurity that takes it to a different place.
Right.
And men and women both have responsibility in the way we have so wrongly interpreted those things.
Oh, brother.
And, because we could go on and on about, and responsibility lies on both sides of that stick.
Yes. And the respect idea of it, and the pedestal, putting your wife on a pedestal, and that being something, and making them feel always important, as she should be doing to you. She should be doing the very same thing, making him feel important, and don't drag him down or make fun of stuff that he says or mock him or anything like that. That we're not to do that as well. And so I think that there's plenty of instruction on how to make a marriage work, and plenty to dwell on and go like, yeah, I should have done that probably. That would have been a good idea, because it works. I mean, he wasn't putting it in there just to have a filler for the Bible. All these things meant something. And the scary scriptures about, I'm going to judge you the same way you judge other people, that's very scary to me. And if you continue to lie about something, if you're a liar, I hate that. I hate liars. Don't lie, because that destroys everything. Your credibility with me, God says, and with everybody else around you, because then what you say just becomes air. It's not going to be believable, or you aren't going to act on it.
And you talk about not worrying. It's so hard, because right now in our current environment, I am so concerned. Maybe I say worried. Maybe I go ahead and admit it and say worried about the sense of that there's no truth. And that is disturbing to me.
Because, yes, people don't understand how important truth is until they've seen all these people that, now they know what they just said was not true. How could you get on TV and the TV lets you say that, and you expect me to believe it? And what, it just makes you feel like this is ridiculous.
Yeah. And I don't know where that will end up.
Yes,
I trust God.
Yeah.
But I don't know where that'll end up, and I think it's a dangerous path.
Oh, yeah, because that's going to bite us in the behind for that.
It's a dangerous path if there's nothing that really is true.
Right. And I remember the story about the man in search of the truth, and with the lantern and the seas, he's walking across the land. And that was so impactful to me. I thought that was, but I didn't understand. I felt like, well, what truth is he after? Because it seems like we all tell the truth, which has certainly drifted away from us as being really important. It's like the handshake. No, we've got to have 50 lawyers do something to make this, ironclad, and not just say, I'll do it.
Where you will honor your word.
Yeah, honor your word. Yes. That'd be a good book to have out right now. That'd be wonderful.
How do we honor our word?
Well, I think that what I had hoped to do is that have different women come on and that are are over women's ministries or doing what are you doing for women and what women are involved in. And so if you want to go through and kind of list what you guys are doing right now and let people know.
Okay. Well, we have, like I say, we have 2 Bible study groups that meet right now. One of them, COVID killed a lot of our daytime in-person stuff. So we had to become rather efficient with the Zoom world. And that's been a blessing. And right now we're doing a study on the prophet Elijah. It's been rich and good.
Yes, he's an interesting guy.
What we usually do is we have a fall study that will stop right before Thanksgiving week, and then we'll begin again about the second week in January, and we'll have another round of studies. So that's our Bible study part.
And if somebody comes in, like the first time, and wouldn't even know how to look up a book, they'll get they can not feel embarrassed, or they don't need to feel
we
embarrassed.
work hard to be inclusive of whether you have been in Bible study your whole life, grown up in Sunday school, or whether or not you are just walking in the door and don't even know what church is all about.
Right.
Don't have any idea. You've heard horror stories, actually, and there are many.
Oh, yes.
So we try to be sensitive to that full scope.
That's great.
We are learning and growing in our ability to be inclusive. Where Bammel Church sits, the community has changed. And it's a very interesting place to be because we're sitting on where the church building sits.
On 1960.
On 1960. To immediately to our east is the Northgate subdivision, beautiful golf course, country club environment. Immediately to our east are some low-income housing. We've got some drug problems in some of those apartment complexes. And it's like we're sitting on a dividing line, which is an interesting place to be because the love of God says, these are my people.
That's right.
Love them.
That's right.
Both the east and the west.
That's right.
And don't
Doesn't matter.
prefer one over the other.
Right.
So we're learning better. Got a long way to go, but we're learning better how to navigate the racial mixture and inclusion, economic mixture and inclusion. And I wouldn't trade it for $1 million in any way. Because it is, when I think about in Revelation where God's talking about around his throne, and he describes it, and he says, every nation, every tribe, every person is collected there. Well, it's kind of exciting to be in a place where there are different tribes, different ethnicities, different peoples, all wanting to love God and walk faithfully and be a disciple. So
that's the goal. That is the goal. Yeah.
Our women's ministry is designed to provide the kind of camaraderie and support that we've already talked about among women. You need some partners, You need partners walking with you.
Yes, you do.
So it's designed for that. We do service projects periodically. We have a good food pantry out of Bammel, so we work with them.
Oh, that's so important.
That's a necessary piece now. We help provide support for a couple of elementary schools in the Spring District that are close to our campus, providing some tutors and just encouragement for teachers. So we're doing that kind of thing, which is great. We have an AA group that meets at our building. So just trying to be a support for that particular community, a resource for that community, always because God's love is bigger than our differences.
That's
bigger.
true. That is so
And
true.
so, by His grace, we can learn to navigate and learn to love, because that's actually the bottom line.
Well, I think that the strength of the churches around here. Now we live in Texas, and we live in the Bible Belt, and
I know.
so we've got a lot of different churches, and we've got all trying to do, essentially all the same
Yes,
thing. They just
yes.
want to help. Is what they want to do, is help in their community and
Sincere
strengthen their
desire.
membership. Yeah. If that's their goal, is they're going to be successful. That's going to be successful in God's eyes, is that if you're doing that. And I think that the fact that women are growing stronger and being drawn into this, and that's what I want to spotlight, is all the different ones that are out there,
Yeah.
and everybody coming in and saying not exactly the same thing, but essentially the same thing. It is the desire to create a safe environment for these women.
Yes.
And that can be, it doesn't matter what your situation is socially. That safety is everything first. And then if you build that and make them feel like, look, God's got this. He's got me in His hand. He loves me more than anybody loves me. And so that's huge.
It is. And, I had to learn in my own life, I had to learn that God didn't prefer males.
Yes.
I had to learn that.
Yes.
Because, like I say, it was not ever said to me, but I felt it.
And it was never said in the Bible either.
No, it's not. But God doesn't prefer females either.
No.
So we have to remember that we're called to be the people of God.
Right.
Male and female, as He created us.
Right. Each helping each other.
Each helping each other,
Right.
each bringing strengths to the table that are important.
Yeah, because He gave us
And
different strengths.
that's right.
And that's what we're supposed to
That's
be,
So-
dwell on that. We'll be
Yeah.
okay.
Our women's ministry is focused on the idea that you, Cindy Cochran, as a woman, you matter. You matter a lot. And we want every one of our women to feel that.
That's right. Oh, thank you.
Amen.
I feel validated. I go through the grocery line, I'm checking out, and so it says on top, approved. And I went, I just love looking at that. Thank you, guys. Like my credit thing with that, I was approved. And it's wonderful because we do have those weaknesses that we all feel.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's like up here and it's way down here. I worked for.
I was going to
Go
say,
ahead.
when you said that, laughing about that being approved, that gives me an idea. I think we need a new sticker that just says approved. And we can slap it on and wear that baby.
And maybe need it here.
That's
That's
right.
right. Or have it hooked onto something that's sticking out, showing us,
Yeah.
you're approved. You're
That's right.
approved. What are you acting like that for?
One of the stickers that we do use is we stick it on every notebook, every workbook we do, is this one that says, anything I do is better than doing nothing at all. And the point is,
It's brilliant.
people start beating themselves up if they haven't finished a particular week's study. And so I say that if you can, great. You're the beneficiary.
Right.
If you can't, do anything.
Do something.
If
Yeah.
you can read one paragraph, do it. Do it. And
That's-
that's better than nothing. We're in process here.
My dad would watch TV or watch commercials and then turn around and look at me and says, people need more to do. They just need more to do. They don't have enough to do. If this is what they're working on, and I go like, I think you're right, Dad. You're probably right. But I think that it just shows, I think, that where we want hunger for that approval, hunger for, and we, that's innate in us that we want to be approved. And so when your husband or your kids or anybody validate that, then you feel like, okay, I feel a lot better now.
feel
and I
good,
feel,
yeah.
I
You
walk
feel
out
better.
feeling good. And that's why he said, and trying to obey that scripture or obey that was, don't let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Cindy, and only say things that are uplifting to that person. So when that person leaves you, they leave you better than when
That's
they met
right.
you. Yeah,
That's right.
And that's
Especially
all
your
it is.
kids.
Oh, especially
Especially your kids, and they're sometimes the hardest ones to
Yeah.
guard your words.
You're right. Isn't that the truth? And the one person that you feel like this person is so haughty, so arrogant, it doesn't need any more uplifting. That's not true. That's usually
That's a cover.
that's a cover. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
that's
right.
a cover.
So I think that it's just good for us to be sweet to each other, kind to each other, and when you find out something. Something good. When we would speak, we spoke during the 70s, and that was the positive thinking and all of that. And I love that era. I loved reading the books that everybody wrote and realized that it's all coming from the Bible. The Bible already said it, but they said it in a different way that made us
That
understand
made it heard a little bit better, and that's okay.
And that's okay.
That's great.
Yeah. And so that's what made me not be so judgmental about the different versions of the Bible. Like if they can say, and so Jesus was dunked under the water, that's okay that they can say that, and some animal flew down, and so it just is, as long as the intent and what they wanted was to get the word across. But I think that you guys are certainly pushing that, and I'm so glad to know you're still there. It's been years. How long has Bammel been in 1960?
In 2022, back at Labor Day weekend, we celebrated our 50th anniversary.
Goodness.
Our women's ministry started in 1987.
Wow. That
Formally,
Yeah,
it
okay.
began as a formal ministry piece.
Yes.
In 1987.
Finally crossed that line.
Yeah.
And I certainly, and I got to say this, that the elders and all the people that had me come in, I told them, after they were talking to me and saying different things that could happen and you shouldn't be doing this and all, and they had heard rumors that I had been at a wine tasting party or something in Hollywood, and I said, man, if you'd have seen what we were doing in Hollywood, we just wanted to go to the, the places that all the tourists go. And so that wasn't, it wasn't anything like that. And so they finished, and I went, well, okay, I don't know. I guess I thought y'all were going to ask me for an autograph, but that's not it. So I'll just go ahead and and so to try and lighten the mood, because I didn't want them to feel. I thought I just appreciate how much they loved me to have to have a meeting like that, to make sure I'm okay and make sure that I know what you're walking into a lot of times. And they're right. Oh, they're right about that, because Hollywood does have a lot of evil sides and what they want you to do and to say and things like that. But it was this. They were just very caring, and a lot of people look at that as like, they're all in your business. They're trying to keep you.
Yeah, and they feel a burden. They feel this responsibility burden for the little flock that they're tending to.
Yes, that's right.
And it's a heavy burden.
It is, and I know that a lot of them worry about it all the time.
Yeah.
And so, I've seen some of them before and said I'm okay, and I'm still here. And so it's just precious, they do care. And it's all the strict rules and all the rules that maybe have gone away. A lot of those were based on, you're right. That shouldn't be. We shouldn't do that. And I've only got 2 minutes to tell you goodbye. We have been talking. See, I told you it was just going to be like sitting around the kitchen table talking about stuff.
I thought I needed notes real bad.
I know. So, Gail, I can't tell you how many people come and they're sitting there before we start, and they're lining up their notes in the category they're going to talk about.
I would love to have had a line of notes.
and they never looked down at them because we sat there and they said, you took me all around the block and I wasn't ready for it. Okay, no, but it was, but it's been so much fun talking to you and being with you again. And tell everybody at Bammel, I said, hi, hello, I'll miss y'all.
We're still there. Come visit us.
Well, the deal is if I don't see you here, I'll see you there. And
That's right.
I have to talk country anytime we talk about that stuff, but it's just been great to have you here, and I'm so glad you're there with them and helping them.
Thank you,
so thank you, Gail Matthews at Bammel Road Church of Christ. And listen, first responders, we love you. We love you so much. Thank you. and God loves you more. That's what's exciting. Okay, so have a great day, and Astros, go Astros, go Astros, please.